With these can-do videos, you'll see real-life situations where you have to introduce yourself, talk about your family, or give your contact information. So, by the end, you can do them yourself in French. This video is a small portion of our can-do course. To get the full course, including translations, grammar tools, and assessment tests, click the link in the description. Welcome to Can Do French by FrenchPod101.com.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Lia Mercier. Hi everyone, I'm Lia Mercier. In this lesson, you'll learn how to ask if a store has something.
This is Sasha Lee. She's at a small grocery store and wants to buy some salt. She gets the clerk's attention and says, "Excuse me, do you have any salt?"
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
Listen to the conversation and focus on the question. Ready?
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
Oui, c'est ici.
Once more with the English translation.
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
Excuse me, do you have any salt?
Oui, c'est ici.
Yes, it's here. Wondering how you can master these conversations even faster? Here's how. 1. Read along. You get the lesson conversation and translations inside our dialogue tool, so that you see each word as you hear it and understand it all. 2. Practice speaking. By shadowing what you hear, you can also record and compare yourself with native speakers with our voice recording tools. And 3. Take our assessment tests and see how much you remember. These tools are part of our Can Do course. Just click the link in the description to get them.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Sasha asks, "Excuse me, do you have any salt?"
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
Let's start with,
Excusez-moi,
"Excuse me."
excusez-moi.
First is,
Excusez,
meaning, excuse.
excusez. Excusez.
Next is,
Moi,
me.
moi. Moi.
Together,
Excusez-moi,
excuse me.
excusez-moi.
Note, you may be familiar with
Excuse-moi.
the informal form of excuse me. In this conversation, Sasha is speaking with someone she doesn't know, so she uses the formal form.
Excusez-moi.
Next is,
Avez.
meaning, you have.
Avez. Avez. Avez.
Is from the verb
Avoir.
to have.
Avoir.
After this is,
Vous.
you.
Vous. Vous.
Note,
Vous.
is the plural form of you, as in you all. But here, it's the formal way to address a single person.
Vous. Vous.
Together
Avez-vous?
is the formal way to say, do you have? After that is,
Du sel.
translating as any salt in this context.
Du sel.
Translation note,
Du sel.
can translate as some salt or any salt, depending on the context. Here, in the question format, any salt is a more natural translation. Let's start with
Sel.
salt.
Sel. Sel.
In French, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Sel.
Is masculine and singular, a fact that will determine the form of other words in the sentence. Before
celle,
is the article
du. Du,
is masculine and singular to agree with
celle. Du,
is a contraction of
de,
and
le.
literally of
De,
the.
le.
But think of it like some or any in English.
Du, du. Du.
Together,
Du sel,
translating as any salt in this context.
du sel.
Altogether,
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
excuse me, do you have any salt?
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
Let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how the shop clerk says, "Yes, it's here"?
Oui, c'est ici.
This starts with
Oui,
yes.
oui, oui.
It answers Sasha's question.
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
Excuse me, do you have any salt? Next is
C'est,
it's.
c'est, c'est,
Note
c'est.
is a contraction of the expression
Ce
it and
est,
is
c'est,
shortened for easier pronunciation.
est,
Is from the verb
être,
to be.
être.
Last is
Ici,
here.
ici, ici.
Altogether, it's
Oui, c'est ici.
yes, it's here.
Oui, c'est ici.
The pattern is
Avez-vous, item?
do you have item?
Avez-vous, item?
To use this pattern, simply replace the item placeholder with the thing you're looking for and its corresponding article. Imagine you're looking for milk.
Lait. 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 Lait,
Is masculine and singular. Before
lait,
is
du,
translating as any in this context.
du. Du,
Is masculine singular to agree with
lait.
together
Du lait.
any milk.
Du lait.
Say, do you have any milk? Ready?
Avez-vous du lait?
Do you have any milk?
Avez-vous du lait?
To use a pattern in this lesson, you'll need to know the number and gender of the thing you're asking for. Things like milk or salt are uncountable in French and English. You need to use the singular form regardless of quantity. The conversation introduces du, which agrees with masculine singular nouns. However, there are several more forms of this article, which often translates as some or any. For a feminine singular noun, like confiture, jam, use de la confiture, some jam or any jam. For both masculine singular and feminine singular nouns starting with a vowel, use de l. De l'argent, some money or any money. De l'eau, some water or any water. Things like apples are countable in both French and English. When there is more than one, you use the plural form. For both masculine and feminine nouns in the plural, use des pommes, some apples, or any apples.
Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Avez-vous du sel? Avez-vous du sel?
Avez-vous du lait? Avez-vous du lait?
Avez-vous du sucre? Avez-vous du sucre?
Avez-vous de la confiture? Avez-vous de la confiture?
Avez-vous des pommes? Avez-vous des pommes? Did you notice how I use a different pattern?
Wondering how you can master these conversations even faster? Here's how. 1. Read along. You get the lesson conversation and translations inside our dialogue tool, so that you see each word as you hear it and understand it all. 2. Practice speaking. By shadowing what you hear, you can also record and compare yourself with native speakers with our voice recording tools. And 3. Take our assessment tests and see how much you remember. These tools are part of our Can-Do course. Just click the link in the description to get them.
Avez-vous des pommes?
Do you have any apples?
Avez-vous des pommes?
Let's start with
Pommes.
apples.
Pommes. Pommes.
Instead of a singular, the plural is used, because the word for apple is countable in French. In French, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Pommes.
Is masculine and plural, a fact that will determine the form of other words in the sentence. Before
Pommes.
is the article,
Des. Des.
is masculine and plural to agree with.
Pommes.
Altogether,
Avez-vous des pommes?
do you have any apples?
Avez-vous des pommes?
Let's review the new words.
Lait.
Milk,
Lait. Lait. Pomme.
apple,
Pomme. Pomme. Sucre.
sugar,
Sucre. Sucre. Confiture.
jam,
Confiture. Confiture.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the formal way to say, "Excuse me"? Excusez-moi. Excusez-moi. And how to say salt? Sel. Sel. Do you remember how to say any salt? Du sel. Du sel. Do you remember how Sasha Lee asks, "Excuse me, do you have any salt?"
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel?
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sel? Do you remember how to say yes? Oui. Oui. And how to say here? Ici. Ici. Do you remember how the clerk says? Yes, it's here.
Oui, c'est ici.
Oui, c'est ici. Do you remember how to say milk? Lait. Lait. And how to say any milk? Du lait. Du lait. Do you remember how to say sugar? Sucre. Sucre. And how to say any sugar? Du sucre. Du sucre. Do you remember how to say apple? Pomme. Pomme. And how to say any apples? Des pommes. Des pommes.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Sasha Lee, and you're at the grocery store. Get the shopkeeper's attention and ask if they have milk. Ready?
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du lait?
Oui, c'est ici.
Listen again and repeat.
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du lait? Excusez-moi, avez-vous du lait?
Imagine you're Karen Lee, and you're at the grocery store to buy some apples. Ready?
Excusez-moi, avez-vous des pommes?
Oui, c'est ici.
Listen again and repeat.
Excusez-moi, avez-vous des pommes? Excusez-moi, avez-vous des pommes?
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Ben Lee, and you're at the grocery store to buy sugar. Ready?
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sucre? Oui, c'est ici.
Listen again and repeat.
Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sucre? Excusez-moi, avez-vous du sucre?
This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to ask if a store has something in French. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.